to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotics.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Live today, January 6, 2010. I'm Jack Blood. You're listening to Deadline Live, AmericanFreedomRadio.com, and all of our great affiliates picking up the show. Thank you so much for trusting us for an hour or two a day. But you don't have to trust us. Just listen. Listen, weigh it within your own intuition, your own conscience, and then go check out what we're saying, please. G. Edward Griffin joins us here in the second hour of the broadcast. Today he's been a perennial guest on our program for years. There was a great incident, speaking of Brit Hume, who I met at the conventions in 2004. There was just a great moment in my life where I am interviewing Ed on Media Row under the Fox banner. We were an affiliate at the time. I weaseled my way in to use their facilities there. And I'm interviewing Ed about the Federal Reserve. It was taboo to talk about the Federal Reserve in 2004 when they could do no wrong. And as I'm talking to him about this illegal, usurping cabal of internationalist moneymen, monopolists, none other than Wolf Blitzer walks up on me, stands about 3 feet from me, crosses his arms, looks at me as if he wants to have me killed, looks up at the Fox banner, looks down at me, looks up at the Fox banner, looks down at me. And he stands there for about 3 or 4 minutes listening to the conversation I had with my friend G. Edward Griffin. Of course, he is the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, along with Ezra Pound and Eustace Mullins. Ed Griffin is one of the high priests, if I may say that, of exposing the Federal Reserve and their illegal unconstitutional act of 1913, which has lorded over us and has controlled our money supply in this country all these years and caused a destitute of problems and freedom-sucking agendas. Ed Griffin just has a storied career. He's influenced everyone from Ron Paul to myself. He joins us on the program today. Ed, great to have you again.
Well, thank you, Jack. It's good to be back.
Wolf doesn't like you.
Well, that's good.
I don't know if he doesn't like you. He didn't like me that day because of what I was talking about, what I learned from your book, The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Of course. He wouldn't like what we were talking about. And if he did, I think we were doing something wrong.
Right? That's exactly right. Thank you for that, Ed. You know, 2009, as we had pronounced it, the year of End the Fed, and it certainly lived up to a lot of that. Have they ever, in your memory, received so much flack from the American people than they did in 2009?
Well, there's no question that they have never received a lot of flack like this, but even more significant that they've never received much attention of any kind, which is much to their liking. They would rather that the American people just not pay any attention to them at all. They like to be invisible. You know, the less you know about the Fed, the less you worry about what they're doing, and they like that.
Yeah, cockroaches don't like the light, Ed.
Good analogy, yes.
Well, that's certainly over now. I mean, they're firmly in the spotlight, though. Amazingly enough, with all of so many Americans and the Tea Parties and the big Ron Paul revolution and all the people you've spoken to over the year, the various congressmen and senators who have taken these guys to task, put them under the hot lights in official testimony, they've actually gained more power.
Well, yes. It's one of the most interesting developments, I think, of the last few years. And people are beginning to realize, because it's right in their face, that no matter how much public awareness there is or how much opposition there is to these hidden forces, it really doesn't make too much difference because they do have the power. We do not really have representative government anymore. We think we do. We go to the polls and we elect for we choose our candidates, which have been chosen for us. Choose between Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But we get this false impression that we're participating in our own political destiny. But when you come to the reality of the Federal Reserve continuing to gain more power and move in exactly the opposite direction of public sentiment, all of a sudden I think even the common man can realize that his vote doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. No, they just go along willy-nilly. In fact, what we understood through people like Joan Vion and others, what happened at the G20 in Pittsburgh was to hand over our economic sovereignty officially. Now, we know it's been done a long time ago, but officially to hand that over to the International Monetary Fund, who allegedly is under the power of the United Nations, and to set up a cabal of central banks around the world who will regulate on a world scale the global economy. I mean, and this is what EU President Rom Van Puy said is the end of sovereignty and the beginning of world government. I mean, they just come out and admit it.
Yes, they might as well admit it. More than admit it, they proclaim it now. This isn't something that we are supposed to have anything to say about now. It's done. That's what they're trying to tell us. It's done. Sit down, relax, enjoy it, because it's here.
Gee, Ed, I thought that was all a big conspiracy theory.
Yeah, well, it's no theory anymore, is it?
You know, I've been saying that to my audience for years now. It's not a matter of if it is or isn't. It's a matter of, do you endorse it or not?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's not conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy history now. And, anybody with a half open eye ought to be able to see it.
What could be more conspiratorial than a group of international bankers who talk amongst themselves, whose policy never becomes public, who pull the strings and the purse strings of America? I mean, give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes the laws. That's what Lord Rothschild said. Yes,
and it's certainly an axiom. It's true. So the question now, Jack, is what do we do about it? You know, it's done. I think Joan has said it very well. She said it's not a question of when are we going to get world government or if we're going to get world government. She correctly says we have world government. So the question now is, what do we do about it?
I think we name Ben Bernanke the Person of the Year. That's what we do.
Yeah.
All joking aside, we do have the power of the people here. We do have the ability to see these people now, which is something we haven't had in the past. Even though they are threatening us, if we audit them, they'll send the whole thing crashing down around our ears. The whole delicate illusion of our financial system will cause destitution and bread lines across America. But there is something we can do. And I think, one of the things I've been talking about, Ed, is we need to be thinking right now what the appropriate next step is. Rather than just asking to end the Fed and then going, now what? We need to figure out what we're going to fill that vacuum with, and I don't believe when, but if we finally get rid of the Federal Reserve, and we need to do that before they do.
Well, yes, that's a very good observation, Jack. And that's one of my favorite songs I've been singing for so many years, is that it's important to look at issues like end the Fed and get the troops out of Afghanistan and all of these issues, get rid of the federal income tax and all of these things we can focus on. But beyond that, how about some principles? What are our principles? What are our political agenda itself? What are we in favor of? What do we want to see? A better world, not just fighting against the things that have been done to us, but if we had a chance to start over again, which I think we will, how would we rebuild the system? And this is what I'm really delighted to see more and more people turning to that question.
Yeah, not what freedom isn't, but what freedom is.
Yes, exactly. Uh-huh.
And what is it? With all of your vast knowledge and your connections, you understand all the inner workings. What is it? What should we be advocating now to replace these guys with? Because I think we're going to win this, Ed.